Good afternoon. It is almost evening. Temperature has dramatically cooled off in the last few days. To me, when people talk about climate change, I'm like, I look around at the winter. It is something that I've become very apparent. Every winter, I am noticing the wheaten season get smaller and smaller where I live on PI. Like just last week, I will be I was walking around in sandals, in shorts, in t-shirt, as if it was summer. It was really nice. And then overnight, it went below zero. It has been cold ever since. And to me, that's an example of climate change, of how the society is operating. Even during the winter, our season doesn't last as long. We might have snow a little bit here and there, but it's not there permanently. And we might have a couple snowstorms here and there, but overall, we don't have constant snow. And that period, like I said before, it's just getting shorter. Anyways, I am not going to get into the climate change debate. I just kind of wanted to express that observation. The main topic that I want to talk about is Marxism. A lot of people completely misunderstand what is Marxism. A lot of people will say that if you're religious, you can't be a Marxist because because Marxism is an atheist philosophy. I wanted to start to make an argument. The Bible teaches spiritual knowledge. And how God created man is unique among all creations. You have the flesh, and that all animals shares the fleshy nature. But what was unique is the breath of God that was been given to us, and the ability to understand good and evil. Another way to understand this We have the ability to understand our surrounding. If you think of a cat, do they really understand the surrounding? They really are. Feed me, human. Pet me. And I'll be your best friend. But they really don't understand the lights, the cars, the electricity. They don't understand anything that is literally around them. I don't know how many times I have watched my cat getting jumpy and looking at a piece of fabric. And that piece of fabric is the scariest thing in the world for him. Yet, for us, we understand that is a shirt. Now, it doesn't mean that animals don't have emotion. I absolutely believe that they have emotion. There's too many videos out there to experience with animals that we can't see them having love to other human beings, to other living things, and make bond with other animals. Like, I remember hearing stories about elephant where they will lose their partner, and we so grieve that they're going to stop eating and lose the will to live. But that is still different than human beings who's able to interact with the world around us. Like, literally, like, able to figure out on how to build cities, build deconstruct nature and make it for ourselves. Like, we're on a level that is literally beyond any any other living thing. So what the scriptures, what does the Bible or any other religious text? They usually deal with different spiritual issues. They try to describe the relationship between man and God, and how we're supposed to interact with that relationship. But the one thing that it doesn't address is the material world, or you can say the flesh. That comes to a whole different topic. This is where the development of mathematics and philosophy and any other subject that tries to understand the world around us. And people will leave their writings to try to understand the world. So what does it have to do with Marxism? The fundamental part of Marxism is understanding I cannot say the word. Dialectic materialism. That'll be close enough. Dialectic is basically it's a nature concept. It's an ancient philosophy, where essentially is if you pick two opposite phenomenon, and you try to solve it. It would be like saying we have we know that drinking water is good, or but if you drink too much water for you, no, let me take a better example. You have your own truth, but somebody has is well, in terms of Marxism, it would be like the capitalist and the worker. It's like you basically pick two opposite phenomenon and you mash them against each other. Like it would be like saying the laws of gravity. There we go. We know we know that there's gravity. So, like the concept of for every opposite force. For every force, there's an opposite equivalent force that acts upon it. That's a contradiction. Like it would be like if you move forward and you run, in order to make that person stop, there's an opposite force that has to make that person to stop. That is a contradiction that is occurring in a society, in our world. What is special about dialectic materialism? You try to specifically bound dialectics into the material realm. Before that dialectics is mainly used to abstract thinking, but materialism tries to use dialectics to try to bound it on the material realm and try to look at different material phenomenon and try to explain it of why those contradictions happens. Those contradiction is literally a normal process. And you try to say, what's the synthesis? What's out of those convictions? What is the result of those convictions? This comes, and what is unique about Marx, it is not about the concept of classes. Classes existed long before his time. And he described the different concepts throughout history that resulted the different contradiction that is happening in their life. Capitalism, which is the most famous about, he focused on a specific time and tried to explain the material conditions of capitalism. So the basic premise of capitalism is about, using the terms of John Locke, what of life, liberty, and property. And Marx was like, okay, we're going to pick the classical liberals' arguments, and we're going to assume what they say are right. And if you actually look at any of his writings, 90% of anything he has ever wrote, especially in Das Kapital, comes from the classical liberals. I am talking about people like Adam Smith, John Locke, no, I'm thinking about it. I forgot another guy's name right now, but all his arguments is from that. He's even quoted Socrates at times. And he would say, okay, what is your argument? And let's see if those arguments make sense. One of the biggest arguments that he took from the classical liberals is the labor theory of value. He didn't create it, but he took it, he expanded on it, and demonstrated the contradiction that existed with the labor theory of value. John Locke, for example, will argue if you put some kind of labor into a product, that product belongs to you. For example, like if you use, it would be trying to harvest an apple. So him climbing on a tree, pick up the apples, that labor will belong to him. But the surplus of it that is only need as much as he needs to sustain himself. Any surplus makes no any surplus is not good for him. There's no point for him to have it because he's just hoarding it. Adam Smith was also another proponent of the libertarian value. He even go on to say, and he absolutely hated landlords too. He even went on to say that a slave is better off than a seasonal worker, because a slave, at the very least, they were able to be fed and housed. But a seasonal worker did not have such guarantee, because once their season is over, no one's there to feed them or to clothe them or to house them. But he still argued that if a person puts the labor into a product, that product should belong to him. So what Karl Marx did was, so your argument says that whatever labor you put it into, that product should belong to you. However, you have this guy who's your boss, and the entrepreneur, what is called the capitalist, the owner of the means of production. Your labor actually belongs to him. And he was saying, like, that makes no sense. That's a contradiction. If we are saying that a person should only to put the labor into it, and that person should belong to him, according to John Locke, why is it it's the big guy who owns the means of production, that labor belongs to him? Hence the concept of class warfare. The interest of the worker is is an opposition of the interest of the owner. The interest of the owner, and I want to make something clear. We're not saying that the capitalists are evil people. That's not the argument. The argument is that it's a system. It is the system that creates those tension, the problems in society. And we're trying to unite those tension to fix them. But how can you fix them if you don't deal with the root of the problem? Sorry. Long COVID is taking a toll right now. So now, you have two opposing forces. In the interest of a worker is different than the interest of a capitalist. The interest of the capitalist, what they are motivated by, and that's the system, is literally designed. They have to maximize profit. If you look at any textbook, economics textbooks there is, all of them, they will say that all business goal is to maximize profit. It is not about the well-being of the employee. It has to be about they have to maximize their profit. So one of the biggest things they're going to try to do is, one, is to pay as little as they can get away with so they can maximize their profit. But at the same time, a worker interest is, I need money to survive. So they're trying to find ways to make as much money as possible. And these two constant battles are in constant play. And another big concept, especially if you think about the market, everything is a competition. So that means that there's winners and losers. And if there are losers, that means there's more money to be made for the winners. If they get more money, that means they're able to accumulate more power. And as they develop more power, there's going to be fewer capital being around, and they're going to be under their hands. Hence, the creation of monopolies. But they don't want slavery. the way it used to. But if they want, but if they could pay you $0, they would do so in a heartbeat. Like I was listening to a libertarian economist where he argued that they should abolish the US minimum wage so that he can pay someone $6 an hour instead of $7.25 an hour because $6 an hour is bigger than zero. Keep in mind that minimum wage doesn't even pay rent anywhere in the US. And why would they want to pay as little as possible? That is the concept of surplus value. Let's say, for example, the cost of capital is $100. The cost of labor is $50. But we don't know the surplus value, but the profit is $200. I'm going to change the term slightly. Instead of calling surplus value, I'm going to use the term net profit. Instead of using profit, I'm going to use gross profit. So basically, this is the gross profit and net profit. Gross profit is the total amount before any deduction. Net profit is the amount after the deduction. So if you rearrange the equation, you're gonna have gross profit minus the cost of capital minus the cost of labor equals net profit. So that means $200 minus $100 minus 50. That means the net profit is $50. That net profit goes directly in the capitalist's pocket. That means that surplus value is the unpaid wage of the laborer. Hence, how a worker is being exploited. Now, here's the last concept that is important. Sometimes people will call wages wage slavery. So what is the difference between regular slavery and wage slavery? Let's think for a second. You have a slaver control what, where, why, when, how, and why to produce things. A capitalist controls the what, where, why, how, when, what, where, how, when, and why to produce things. So both of them are very similar. They both control the means of production. The difference is that one uses coarse, a hard power, slavery, where they're going to put a collar on a person and make them, force them into slavery and force them to work. And the other one would use soft power, meaning they're going to use the threat of starvation and homelessness, being homeless, to get them to work. But in either system, the worker is not truly free. The people on the bottom are not truly free because they're not able to say what they really want to say, because one, they get lashes if it's hard power, or two, they get fired. They get their life can be they're not able to pay bills and they're not able to move forward. So that you have to conform to the will of the big man. So freedom, going back to John Locke, a concept of freedom, rather life and liberty. How can you truly be free when you have 90% of your work life have a tyrant telling you on how to live your own life, and you have no freedom on what to say? Meanwhile, life is also being suppressed because the capitalists don't believe that you have the right to eat and to live. Jordan Peterson made that in one of his interviews with a leftist. He made it clear that health care is not a human right. You don't have the right to guarantee to have like food or homeless or health care because it is up to you to get those things. You can't rely to another person. So therefore, the right of life, according to classical liberals, is not being met. And capitalism is against the right of life. It also is against right of liberty. I'm going to end this video at this point, and I'll be making a part 2. Have a nice night.